I deal with the dead and the dying of the automotive world. I have been saying that shit for years. And it's true. I actually prefer it that way because it kind of gives me a unique insight to the way cars have become today. And I gotta tell you, folks, I am not impressed. You know what you get when you spend your hard earned money on a brand new car nowadays? A modern day piece of junk that's way more prone to break down than the cars of the past. Take the old Z here, for example. It doesn't have a backup camera. It doesn't have heated seats. It doesn't have a proximity warning device to tell you if somebody's driving too close. You have to determine all of those things for yourself. Do you know what you get when you pile a whole bunch of unnecessary things on a car, just for an example? You get a vehicle that's more prone to breakdowns because it's built so complicated that you practically need a degree in engineering to figure the damn thing out. Instead of the way it ought to be, you pick up the hood, you see something, and you say, oh, there's the problem, and you correct it, and you go on your way. But the reason I didn't plug that in is because we don't really need that. Which actually leads me to another point. Modifications that you can make yourself. You can't do that on the cars of today. Again, without practically having an engineering degree and working knowledge of the operating system, if not specific knowledge of the operating system that makes the damn thing run. What's my point here? Hang on a second. I'm getting to that. Before cars went fully computerized, my specialty was diagnosing problems of performance and why they did or didn't do the things that they do. That being said, I think I have properly diagnosed YouTube's shadow banning program. And I'd like to raise a few points to see if they make sense to you, the customer. Why would anybody subscribe to a channel that they never watch? Obviously, they wouldn't. So there's really only two possibilities. One, either they don't exist, and that doesn't really make any sense. Or they're not being notified when a video is posted, and it's not showing up on their feed when it's posted, which basically would kill the content of whoever's creating it. Logically, you would think per the amount of videos or viewers you have per the amount of videos would at a minimum be half of your subscriber count. And some of you who come and watch regularly, and thank you very much, by the way, no, that's not the case. Yes, I have a small amount of subscribers. I used to have more, but thanks to YouTube, I lost a full third of them. But even at that, very, very, very rarely, and I can say almost never, do I even get half of the views of the amount of subscribers that I have. So someone's screwing with the machine. There ain't no doubt about it. And according to the terms of service, as I understand it, that's not supposed to happen. According to the congressional testimony that was given by the head of Google, which is the parent company of YouTube. That kind of thing doesn't happen. Really? Was that just a big line of bullshit? Or did he think he was telling the truth? You know, remember the overall theme and what we have been watching is plausible deniability. Sundar Pichai can claim at a later date that he didn't know, even though Google, being the parent company, is responsible for policing YouTube itself. So let me tell you a little story real quick. In an abusive relationship, you can define the abuse by what you can't talk about. After a certain amount of time goes by, it might be okay to talk about it because enough time has elapsed that, for the most part, nobody's really going to care because it was so far in the past. YouTube recently reversed their stance on talking about the 2020 election, which up until the day before yesterday, I think it was, you couldn't talk about on this platform if you were willing or going to criticize it. Well, I told you all what happened in 2020, but I'll refresh your memories. Imagine sitting down at a card game, poker in particular, going through the process of raise, call, and raise until the final call of the hand had been called and you're playing against the house, and all of a sudden the sprinklers go off and the lights go out. And the house and the dealers say, just leave your cards on the table, and when this is all settled, we'll come back and see who won. You're sitting on 4 aces. Yet when you come back, the house mysteriously has a royal flush and you lose. Wouldn't you be a little suspicious about what happened between the time you walked away from the table and came back? That's what happened in 2020. And what happened a month or so later reminds me of another story that I was involved with. I was in a high dollar derby years ago with $10,000 to the winner. And it was fairly obvious that the guy who was on the way to winning, as I was competing against him along with others, was cheating. Myself and several other drivers went to the officials in charge and were complaining, and they were on the verge of literally cutting this guy's car up as a form of inspection. All of a sudden, a fight breaks out at the other end of the pits, drawing the officials' attention towards to what amounted to a melee at the far end of the pits, as far away from the winner as could possibly be, giving him the opportunity to sneak out of the back gate with a big-ass trophy and a $10,000 check. It never was resolved, but it turns out the guys who started the fight, it was his cousin and his brother. Does that remind you anything? Have you seen it before? Is that not what happened at the Capitol in January? It's a rigged game, ladies and gentlemen. And the closer you are to the truth, the less exposure you will receive. The further away you are, they don't give a shit. And they'll be more than happy to put your ideas out there because you're leading others away from what the actual truth is. Believe it or not, that's how I diagnose this ass-backwards machine that Google is responsible for. And I'm pretty sure there's probably more than one of you out there that sees it too. You don't get to own and run a 42-year-old Japanese rice-burning monster that every other car guy in town said was junk if you just fell off the automotive turnip truck. It doesn't work like that. My shit runs. And my shit runs just fine. And should it ever come down to the fabric of society coming undone, people are going to have a real hard time getting me to doubt myself and my diagnosis of whatever situation. How about you?